Hello, Ann O'Brien here, intuitive teacher and author, speaking with you today about the importance of amusement. So I decided to make a video about this topic because it came up for a couple of people I worked with recently, and I realized, gosh, a lot of us could probably use this reminder. So here we go, the importance of amusement. I find, and maybe you've noticed this, if you've ever been around or even witnessed through books or videos or whatnot, great spiritual teachers. They're usually quite funny. They usually have a lot of amusement, a lot of lightness of spirit, and they usually keep things very simple. And I think our modern life is the opposite, where we tend to get busier and busier and busier and more things to do, and we strive and we hustle and we feel validated because, oh, I got all that done, or I achieved all this, or even when we get into a spiritual path, which a lot of people obviously that I work with are on a spiritual path, and I've seen this in these spiritual circles I've been in for a couple decades or more now. A lot of people approach their spirituality the same way. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do all these different trainings, or I'm going to fix all these different things in myself. And they make it really, really complicated. And sometimes that's helpful. But what can happen is we can transfer our need for validation, like I did all these things, I fixed all these things that were broken, I checked all these things off. That same validation that we get in the hustle and bustle world that we're trying to heal from, we can approach our spirituality the same way, and it never ends and it doesn't work. So if you're struggling with work or money or relationships and you're beating your head against the wall and you're trying and it's not getting better, your spirituality isn't going to fix it from a trying perspective, whether you're, in a spiritual light or a material light, trying and effort and striving and hustle and all this hard work. If there's no amusement, now sometimes we need hard work, but if there's no amusement, it's not going to work. So I say all this not to invalidate those of you, and I say me too, that have been on a spiritual path for a really long time and you're like, it never ends. Yes, that's also true. Okay, so I'm not invalidating that. What I'm saying though is we have to find this lightness of spirit if we're going to get anywhere with our spirituality. So I'm not advocating spiritual bypassing. I'm not saying just pretend it's light when it's not. I'm not saying that you shouldn't keep peeling the onion layer after layer and, unpack what happened in your childhood or fix what your issues are. Yeah, sometimes we need to do that, but we need amusement too, and we need to watch out. My opinion is for this tendency to overcomplicate and over effort because we think that's going to make it better, or that's going to make us more valid, right? So I'm going to give you two examples. Now that I've said why, I want to give you two examples of how. So how can you use amusement? What would you use that for? And how would that translate? So one would be in tapping into your intuition. So when you want to awaken your own intuitive abilities, again, if you go into effort and if you get in your head and you make it really complicated and you think you have to figure it all out, that doesn't work. So when I first started on this pathway, I did a year-long clairvoyant program in the late 1990s. And the saying was, be in kindergarten. We were told all the time, be in kindergarten, don't forget, be in kindergarten, because people would do this. We would make it harder than it needed to be. And we would freeze. And people that I've taught this to, same thing, you think it's supposed to be like you're supposed to close your eyes and see the full-blown movie and get all these names and dates and times. And number one, I don't think that's not really that helpful, even if you could. But number two, it doesn't really go that way for most of us. But that doesn't mean we're not all psychics. So the simple thing you could do, when I say be in kindergarten, what does that mean? So one suggestion would be look for a color. So let's say there's something that's not working in your life, or you're working with another person and something's out of balance for them. You could close your eyes and you could ask, given this situation, what's one color that's blocking what needs to happen? What's one color that's blocking my or this other person's fulfillment in this area? And you see that color that's blocking and you ask yourself, what does that color mean to me? And you could say, okay, let's say it's red. That's the blocking color. Red means you're too aggressive or too assertive or pushing or selfish, or, the negative sides of whatever red. And those are just some ideas. That's not the rules about red, but those are some ideas. But what it might mean, okay? And then you can go, what color is helping here? And then you close your eyes and you say, what would help this situation? And let's say that color is blue. So you go, okay, what does blue mean to me in the positive sense? And then you can say, okay, blue is peaceful, blue is calm, blue is expansive. And again, these are very generalized examples, but just to give you a reference point of what I'm talking about. And then, of course, apply that to the situation. So maybe you say this applies to, if they asked you about a relationship, how would you translate that? If this is about a work situation, okay, how could you be more blue and less red here? And you can also do some guided visualization and imagine the color that needs to come in, coming in, and the color that needs to go out, going out. So again, kindergarten, so simple. Next thing is a rose. So another tool for awakening intuition that's super simple is to imagine a rose. So let's say you have a question again about some area of life. You can close your eyes and imagine out in front of you. You can imagine a movie screen or a flat screen or something out in front of you if that's helpful or not, but just imagine a rose pops up, and then interpret the rose, just the details first, and let this rose let this rose represent the answer to your question. So it's not a prediction, it's not a yes or no, it's not names, dates, and times, it's a present time snapshot, what's going on here. Or it could be a, do I take path A or B? Do I live in this location or this location? Do I take this job or that job, for example? And put up a rose for either one, and then you look, okay, this rose is a bud. This rose to me feels like a new beginning, or the bud's too tight, it needs to open, we need to get past the new beginning. Or on the other side, maybe that rose, the petals are falling off, it's dying, it's ending. Those are just very generalized examples, but again, to give you a brushstroke of what I'm talking about. You can look at, does the rose have a stem? Does the rose have a long stem, a thick stem, a thin stem, a sturdy stem, a not so sturdy stem? Is it grounded? Are there leaves, thorns? What's the environment? And again, translate that to the situation. But all you have to do is close your eyes and see a rose. And there you are. There's intuition for you, right? And you have to get out of your head, though. You have to get into a more playful place. Finally, in terms of intuition, past lives. So sometimes we think, oh God, like that sounds hard to read a past life. It's really not. So I was taught to read past lives by closing my eyes, pretending I'm in a movie theater and I have a jar of marbles next to me. And you could think about that's your popcorn, right? It was a jar of marbles. I was taught to pick up a marble, throw it at the screen, and imagine it opens up and a picture shows on the screen. So yeah, it could be like a movie, but even to this day, after over 25 years of doing this, I don't see the whole movie. Why would I want to? This is ancient times we're looking at. I only look at past lives if it's going to be useful to this life. Otherwise, I'm not into this for entertainment's sake. I'm into this for spiritual evolution and increasing our life force and increasing the amount of our spiritual love and light that we have in these bodies. So when I look at a past life, it's, oh gosh, this person you have a really intense connection with, let's look and see why. And sometimes all you have to see is a few frames of that movie. You're like, I get it now. And sometimes it's a situation, not necessarily a person. Like, why do I keep stumbling when it comes to a certain aspect of life? Why do I keep having the same pattern show up? Say, okay, let me pull out my jar of marbles and throw it at the screen. And again, frame, and you get it. Or you can imagine like you're a kindergartner, you have a storybook, and if that works better for you than the movie screen, and just imagine the book, turn the page, and if you're not sure what it means, what most people do that shuts it down is they go, oh, I'm not doing this right. I didn't get anything. I'm stuck. Let me just stop. But all you have to do, if you were a kindergartner, you wouldn't stop. You go, oh, I don't know what this means. I wonder what's on the next page. And then you turn the page. And piece by piece, you put it together. So amusement, lightness, playfulness, having fun. All right, so that was part one, using amusement or playfulness to tap into your intuition better. Part two is you can use your amusement to clear energy, the energy that's not yours or that's not serving you. So I just want to mention too, I have a whole book on this. Everyone is Psychic. If this is intriguing to you, you could go online, AnnO'BrienLiving.com, and click on books and find it and order. They have it's on Kindle, Amazon, and paperback. So with that said, how to clear energy. So using this amusement to clear energy. Somebody that I talked to recently was getting stuck because the same person kept showing up in her head or around her head. And she's like, I want to be free of this person. I want to set a boundary. I want to say stop. I want to say no more. And I've been there. Sometimes it's really hard when it's somebody that you have been close to. Often it's a family member or a partner or a past partner or somebody that just really grates on your nerves, and you're having a real hard time being neutral to this person. So if somebody seems to be pushy, seems to be stubborn, and you can't get rid of them, number one, I want to remind you that you are senior in your space, that nobody gets to be in there without your permission. They cannot force their way in if you're really clear. That said, it's sometimes hard to be neutral. So here's what I do in these cases, and I've done this. And in my book, Everyone is Psychic, I have a story about my dad. So when I was in my initial clairvoyant training, every time I would sit down to meditate, my dad would be in the middle of my head. I'm like, how do I possibly get him out of my head? So what I had to do was I had to dress him in an outfit that he wouldn't want to wear, because this is my space, right? So whatever he wears in real life, it's up to him. But if he came in my head, he had to wear a pink tutu. Now, he didn't like that. So he would bolt as soon as I put him on that outfit. And my mom would come in my head, not as often, but when my mom came in my head, I would swear and I would play punk rock music. Same thing. She didn't like that, so she had to go. And it wasn't necessarily about the vibration of the tutu or the punk rock. It was my vibration went to amusement instead of resistance. When you're amused, anybody that's pushy, anybody that's needy, anybody that's desperate for energy, and that's when they're in your head, obviously you have a part in it, but when they're in your head, they're generally not amused. If somebody's, whether they're in your head, in your root chakra, in your belly, in your heart, wherever they are, stuck to you, or you can't seem to stop thinking about somebody, they're probably not amused if they're in your space, because if they're amused, they're free. And what feels good to us as spirits is to be in our own space. When we're free enough to connect to ourselves and to feel that lightness and amusement that we truly are, we naturally want to be in the body we chose, that we incarnated into. So they'll go. And when you're free and when you're amused, anybody who's not that, they will not be able to stay. It's just a demagnetization, because you become what they cannot have. This is not a mean thing to do. Again, it's your space. You're not going over to their space and making them wear that tutu or listen to that music or be amused when they're not. It's okay if they're desperate or if they have a need that you feel that you can't provide. You can honor that and go, I get that. That must be hard. And meanwhile, if you come in my space, I'm going to vibrate at a high level. And so only energy that's vibrating at a match for my where I feel good is allowed into my body, into my energetic field. So amusement. All right. So I mentioned I have my book, Everyone is Psychic. I have another book, A Woman's Guide to Conscious Love, applying these some of these types of intuitive and guided meditation exercises to relationships. And I also have private sessions available. So if anyone would like one-on-one support, I do work that way over Zoom, phone, and in person in Colorado, where I live. So you can find more information at AnnO'BrienLiving.com, AnnO'BrienLiving.com. And I wish you a wonderful day. All right. Thanks for watching this video. Pass it on if somebody could use it. And feel free to subscribe or like and help the algorithm show it to more people. Okay. Have a great day.